Greetings, beautiful beings. Welcome to Meditation Medicine. So this week I was supposed to have the wonderful Alyssa Goodman on to talk about food as mindful medicine, but given the national status and all that has unfolded, I felt that it was needed to share practice. So it's important for us to really be intuitive about the needs that we sense. And I know so many of us are feeling a lot of different emotion, an ebb and flow of emotional experience. There's much heaviness. I know for myself, I've experienced heaviness, depressive feelings, rage, anger, hope, limitlessness. So the full spectrum of emotion is alive and well at this time. And I just want to hold sacred space for you. And I felt called to teach a meditation practice called Tonglen. So Tonglen is a Tibetan meditation practice that transmutes and transforms negative emotion, uncomfortable emotion, challenging emotion. Tonglen is a way that we can really show up to take away another suffering, to help morph the collective suffering of humanity. So as we continue this outer practice, and the outer practice is vitally important, we need to be showing up. We need to be really showing up for our brothers and sisters. This is absolutely a time where we're being called to shine a light on injustice, oppression, racism, to begin to see, hopefully with a sense of loving compassion and acceptance, the ways in which we've played into systemic oppression, to white supremacy, to patriarchy, to the power imbalances within our systems that have perpetuated inequality. So we're here to really embrace both the inner and outer alchemy of our practice. And when we think about meditation, oftentimes we're thinking about sitting on the cushion, but meditation is also a path. It's a way in which we show up to life. And we're seeing at the forefront the reality of injustices, of hatred, of racism, and we're being called to show up. So in this country in particular, right, the brunt of hatred has been projected at our Black communities. And this is the reality. This has been something that has been existing for many, many years, for so long. And we're not seeing something new, we're just seeing what has always existed. So the Buddhists call that wise seeing. We're seeing the truth, the objective truth of reality. And so my call to you is, how will you continue to walk the path of meditation, both inwardly, that inward drawn attention to transform, but also how will you show up in your life, having the hard conversations, showing up for peaceful protest, showing up for our brothers and sisters of humanity. And this week I'm going to be sharing on my social media the teachings and the wisdom of Black leaders and voices, which in my mind are the most important ones to be receiving at this time. So let's talk and sit with the inner alchemy, right? So we're showing up, we're seeing a lot at the forefront outwardly in our lives. Now is also a time to really journey inward and ask ourselves, how have I been playing into these systems? And no longer is it acceptable or enough for us to be sideline sympathizers of injustice and oppression. We need to be showing up in a more active way. whether that's voting or donating or showing up for peaceful protest, having those hard conversations, reaching out. There are many ways to take action at this time. And today, as we journey into this meditation medicine episode, I want to hold sacred space for the practice of Tonglen. Like I mentioned, Tonglen is a Tibetan Buddhist practice about giving and transforming as we receive and take away the suffering of others. So it's very simple in concept, not always easy to practice because we're so wired to push away pain and suffering and to attach ourselves to pleasure and comfort. That is the way that we are wired. But through our meditation practice, we can rewire that inner system. We can begin to transform our relationship with suffering and discomfort. So the way that Tonglen works is that as you breathe in, you bring into the forefront of the mind a group of people, a country, a city, a person who is suffering. It could be George Floyd's family. It could be our beloved Black community here in Atlanta, nationwide. It could be our whole nation. It could be our president. It could be white supremacists who are acting out of a place of pain and suffering and the illusion of separation. But whatever you choose as your object of meditation, allow that to be a calling, a whisper, an intuitive piece of guidance from the heart. So who will you dedicate this Tonglen practice to? Who will you show up for in your meditation practice? Many of us feel helpless, and this is a practice that we can embrace every single day when you're feeling the heaviness, the distress, the anger, the confusion, not knowing what to do. We can be the alchemist of suffering. And don't get me wrong, we need to act in many different ways. We need to show up for peaceful protests. We need to show up to vote. We need to show up and support our beloved friends of all communities. We need to have the hard conversations. We need to show up for ourselves in our practice. And so when we do, we can embrace the capacity to be the alchemist of suffering. So as you sit, wherever it is you are, I just want to guide you through a Tonglen meditation practice. Again, this Tibetan Buddhist practice of taking suffering, transforming it, and giving spaciousness, compassion, and love. Thank you guys for tuning in. So find yourself in a comfortable seated position. Obviously, if you're driving, keep your eyes open. You can do Tonglen, eyes closed or eyes open. And I hope that this can be a helpful practice for you as we're seeing so much need at the forefront. We all need to show up. We all have a part to play. And we're here now to do it on the cushion. So we take our practice from the cushion out into society, out into the world. So sit in that comfortable seated position. And if you feel comfortable, you can allow the eyelids to close. If not, you can keep them kind of gazing downcast at the floor or your lap as we go into the practice of Tonglen, the transformation of suffering, taking another's suffering. And I invite you now to begin breathing into the base of the spine, the first chakra of the body, the root chakra. We'll begin and end the practice with 3 chimes of the peace bell. May we cultivate a wakeful mind, one that is clear and wise. May we soften our hearts in love and compassion for ourselves and for all of humanity. We vow now to practice meditation in service of ourselves and for all beings. As you sit, breathing into the base of the spine, grounding yourself, begin to notice with loving awareness how you are. Notice the different ripples of energy and emotion. Notice the different flows of thought. Without judgment, just become aware. Aware of the answer to the question, how am I in this moment? Without needing this moment to be different. Just this light, compassionate touch of awareness. You may notice anxiety in the diaphragm. Maybe there's anger in the heart. Maybe you're feeling ungrounded. Maybe there's mental fog. Or perhaps you're feeling a sense of neutrality or even peace. But whatever it is you feel, honor it with loving, non-judgmental awareness, seeing what's present without needing it to be different. This light touch of awareness. How am I? And as we sit here in meditation, may we acknowledge that when we sit on the cushion, when we sit in meditation, it becomes a revolutionary act. This inner work is where we transform our biases. It's where we transform our own hate, discrimination in our own hearts, because we embody both the aggressor and the victim. We all have darkness to work with. Just notice what's present. And is it possible to give yourself space for what's here? And as you allow your energy to settle, bring into the forefront of the mind's eye, a person, a city, a nation, a group of people. You want to work within this Tonglen practice with. Perhaps it's George Floyd's family. Perhaps it's your own city. Maybe it's conflict in your own family. Perhaps it's the collective Black community. Perhaps it's those who still act from a place of darkness and hatred. Perhaps it's white supremacists that you bring into the forefront. Who are you being called to work with, to transform, to take away the suffering of those who are in pain? So allow that person or group of people or state, country, city to arrive into the forefront of the mind, the mind's eye. And may you conjure up the pain, the suffering. Maybe it was an image you saw this week or a video you watched. Maybe it was a story from a friend. Begin to see this person, this community, this city, this situation in the forefront of the mind. And each time you inhale, you set the intention of taking away their suffering, taking away the pain. That is your wish as you inhale, to take away their suffering. And with the exhale, may you hold spaciousness in your own heart for relief of suffering, wishing this person, this community, this group of people, this city, to have enough spaciousness to feel a bit of relief from suffering. And we inhale, holding the wish in our hearts to take away suffering. You transform it as you inhale this breath into our own hearts. And as you exhale, your sacred wish is for this person or this group of people to feel relief. Inhale, taking in their suffering, transforming it through the altar of your heart. Exhale, sending relief, space, ease, peace. Continue with this rhythm of inhale as you take away the suffering, and exhale as you send out that spaciousness, that compassion. Settling into your rhythm of inhale, taking away, transforming through the inhale, exhale, giving. And let us not forget that we are privileged to breathe in peace at this time, and not all are. So may we continue to hold this privilege as a catalyst for this healing. We can hold the suffering of others that don't have the privilege to hold it for themselves because the lack of stability and inner resource when those are in a state of trauma. Again, as you inhale, taking away the suffering of that person, the community, the city that needs our support. And as you exhale, you send out loving kindness, compassion, spaciousness, relief. Stay with this rhythm of inhale and exhale. Stay with this rhythm of Tonglen. Allow whatever emotions you're experiencing to arise. When we become the alchemists of suffering, we can feel this emotion No need to put a story to it. Just feel it to heal it. If you have more than one subject in your Tonglen meditation, you can shift to the other person or group of people. Maybe you shift from person to community. I'm shifting myself from our collective Black community here in the US to my city of Atlanta. And as you inhale, remember taking away the suffering. And as you exhale, you radiate that compassion, that spaciousness. Our wish is to provide relief, to transform another's pain, another's suffering. So a few more rounds here, because for those of us who have the privilege to practice in peace, this is a practice we can embrace, Tonglen. A few more rounds of breath, of transformation. Staying connected to the power and the depth of your heart space. And as you exhale, these last few exhales, perhaps you visualize that person, community, the city, our nation, surrounded, encompassed in a cocoon of golden healing light, shining from your heart space out into the world. And we breathe together in a few moments of interdependence. May we see that another life is our own. We radiate that out into the golden light, touching all. May we see that another's suffering is our own. Another breath. May we see the ways in which we've kept ourselves asleep and separate. May we see that we are here as an agent of change in whatever way that manifests in your own journey. But as we breathe, we acknowledge that oppression, racism, inequality is a human issue we must all show up for, on and off the cushion. As one of my teachers, Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh has shared across the globe. We are here to awaken from the illusion of our separateness. May we continue to practice to awaken from that illusion. Settling in your body, taking a few more deep, slow breaths. And may you enjoy this breath as a gift, this breath as a privilege of being human, of being alive. And very slowly, mindfully, bring yourself back, perhaps bringing some movement into the fingers and the toes, coming back into your space after our Tonglen meditation, the transformation of another's suffering, Tibetan practice. Whew. Thank you all for joining me for this practice of Tonglen, and I continue to send you much love. May we continue to show up for each other. May we continue to have those tough conversations. And may we continue to embrace meditation as a path. It's not just a practice that we do in solitude. It is a path that we can embrace for change, for social change, for the perpetuation and growth of equality across this globe. We need both the inner and the outer practice at this time. We need to show up actively, externally, and we need to show up for ourselves internally, really, really pulling on that inward drawn attention so we can see ourselves clearly, so we can continue working with those dark parts that we all have. And stay tuned for more conscious conversations on meditation medicine. I look forward to sharing sacred space with you, and hang in there. We need each other now more than ever, this human family. And this Tonglen meditation will be reposted later this week if you want to continue to call on it. It can be a practice done in formal meditation and also off the cushion as you're moving about in your day-to-day life. And there's a lot of suffering that we need to be seeing clearly in our world and our nation right now. And Tonglen can be a way that we show up for ourselves, for our Black communities, for all people who are suffering, especially those suffering from inequality. Much love to you. Aho, Sat Nam, Namaste.